Welcome to the Widowed Parent Podcast with your host, Jenny Lisk.
Hey everyone, it's Jenny Lisk, and this is episode 81 of the Widowed Parent Podcast. So for today's show, we've got a terrific discussion with Lily Safani, who is the CEO of Gilda's Club, New York City. But before we get to that, a few updates from me here. First of all, I wanted to make sure that you know about the documentary Speaking Grief. It may sound familiar. I discussed it actually way back in episode 72 with Heather Nestle and Maria Collins from the New York Life Foundation. It's a PBS documentary, and up until now, it's only been available on local PBS stations. But now, as of August 30th, it is available on their website, speakinggrief.org, and you can watch it for free there. I've seen it. It's terrific. I think it's a great outreach and education and to really help people understand more about grief and what the experience of grief is like. I think it's terrifically done. I'd encourage you to watch it and then think about who you might want to share it with. In terms of other resources, I also wanted to make sure that you know about the new podcast from Lisa Damour. Dr. Lisa Damour, she's a psychologist, and I interviewed her way back in episode 13, and she's got a terrific new podcast. This one is not specifically about grief or widowed parenting. It's for all parents, and so I would encourage you to share it with all of your parent friends. I think there's about 3 episodes available so far. I don't know, I can't say enough good things about it. She's amazing. She's very insightful and real, and I think that her book Untangled, Guiding Teenage Girls Through the 7 Transitions into Adulthood is one of the best books I've read in a long time. So if you have a middle school or high school daughter, check out that book. Her podcast is for parents, not just of daughters, but parents of any kids and teenagers. So, and it's of course available on Apple and Spotify and Google and all the regular podcast apps. And also do have a listen to the discussion that I had with Lisa in episode 13, because in there she talked about some grief-specific stuff as well. And let's see, speaking of books, I'm so excited to share with you that my memoir is getting very close to launching. It's launching in October, which, I don't know, with the pandemic, it still seems like it's about 6 months away, but it's actually just right around the corner. So, just getting the, final tweaks and edits worked on now. As I record this, it's August 30th, and my editor's doing one last review, and I realized I needed to write an epilogue and add that on to the end, and so I've drafted that, and I'm working on some revisions on that right now. Anyway, wanted to also tell you that the memoir has a title now. It's called Future Widow, and the subtitle is yet to be announced, but Future Widow, I'm very excited about it. It's, I talk about this in the book the book is based on the 8 months that my husband was sick and the online blog journal that I had during that time. And sometimes I felt like I was walking around, if I stopped by the kids' school or something, felt like I had a gigantic FW for Future Widow on my shirt. And, like everybody knew what was going on, and just, felt a little weird sometimes. It wasn't all bad. People were terrifically supportive, terrifically helpful. And I'm just, I'm very grateful for the support and the community and their caring. I also, it can get awkward, but, that's the way these things go. I'm sure you know all about that. So anyway, that is my update for this week. And now let's get on with the show. So before we get into today's show, I wanted to let you know that support for this podcast is provided by BetterHelp. If you're looking for licensed professional counseling that's easy to arrange and convenient, it really is a great option. You can have video calls with your therapist or phone calls and unlimited messaging. And you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to reach out to a bunch of therapists to find someone who have openings. And you can just sign up at betterhelp.com/widowedparent and answer some questions about yourself and what you're looking for, and they will match you with a licensed professional counselor within a few days. Just like that. And you can even switch therapists if the one they assign you turns out to not be a good fit. So to learn more and get 10% discount on your first month, just go to betterhelp.com/widowedparent. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/widowedparent. And now on to today's show. I had such a great discussion with Lily Safani for this episode. Lily is the CEO of Gilda's Club New York City, and Gilda's Club supports and educates and empowers cancer patients and their families. And they are affiliated with a network of organizations called Cancer Support Community. So if you're not in New York, I'd encourage you to check out where their nearest location is. If your family or someone you know has lost someone to cancer, or if someone you know has a cancer diagnosis, they also have support and resources for them and their caregivers and kids. Some of the topics Lily and I discussed include how Gilda's Club got started and who they serve, the resources they have, including support groups, networking groups, individual counseling and workshops and lectures, the Junior Ambassador program they have for teens, and their Open to Options program, and also how to find an affiliated program if you are not located near them in New York City. I hope you enjoy my discussion with Lily Safani. My guest today is Lily Safani. Lily is the CEO of Gilda's Club New York City. Lily, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Jenny. It's great to be here.
Yeah, well, I've been really looking forward to talking to you. I think I may have mentioned that my husband died of cancer, and I know your organization is very much involved with patients and caregivers and families of people who have cancer or who have died of cancer. So I'm really looking forward to talking to you and hearing all about your programs, resources, offerings, and hopefully we can help get the word out to people who are in New York or elsewhere for similar programs. So again, thank you. So let's just jump right in here. So your organization is called Gilda's Club. So can you tell us who's Gilda and why is your organization named after her?
So for many people who are a little bit older who watch Saturday Night Live and think it's one of the greatest comedic shows, Gilda Radner was one of the first SNL cast members, and she died of ovarian cancer at the young age of 39. And it was an interesting time then for people who had ovarian cancer. We didn't have all the diagnostic tests and ways of finding out. And so she went undiagnosed for a really long time. And when it finally did happen, it was pretty quick. She was attending a support group out west, and she really found it to be very helpful to be around other people who are diagnosed with cancer. And if you can imagine, and if you know how funny she is, you can imagine what she must have been like in a support group. So when she died, her psychotherapist and Gene Wilder, her husband, and some other founders like Mandy Patinkin decided to raise money and form what they called Gilda's Club, a support community out in New York. Jean had a place in Connecticut, and so she was spending time, and she actually died on the East Coast. And this organization became an organization that supports, educates, and empowers cancer patients and their family. And I think that what makes it so different from the other kinds of support that are available to cancer patients is that it is actually a community where people who are living with cancer, diagnosed with cancer, caregivers, bereft, lost someone to cancer, come together to receive support. They receive it in groups. They go to lectures. They do workshops. And we also have social activities where they can congregate and socialize with other people who are living with cancer. And the power of community, of being able to be somewhere where you're not isolated, where everyone in the room knows exactly what you're going through, and they all help you. You help them, and they help you. It's an amazing concept. And the other thing that makes it very unique is that it's for the whole family. So we provide support for the cancer patient, the caregiver, family members, And so the whole family is getting support at the same time, not just the patient who's diagnosed.
I was wondering about that. That's terrific. So so it's the patient can get support, and their spouse or partner can get support, and if they have children or teenagers, they also can get support as members of Gilda's Club.
Right, but they're not together. I just want to make that very clear. The person who's diagnosed with cancer is in a group with other people who are diagnosed with cancer. The person who is a caregiver or a loved one, a partner, is in a support group with other caregivers.
Gotcha.
And the children are with other children who are living with or lost a parent to cancer, or a teen. So they're able to express their own feelings without having to worry about or feeling guilty about what they're saying to their parents, their loved ones. It's a great way to be able to express yourself, get your feelings, your emotions with other people who know what you're going through.
Okay, and something you said, you said living with or lost a loved one. So it sounds like whether there's a cancer diagnosis and someone in the family currently has cancer, or if that person then unfortunately dies and the family then, after the fact, they're still programming for them too. It's not like only while the person is alive with cancer.
Right. So there is definitely a program for those people who've lost someone to cancer. And quite honestly, it's not uncommon, for example, just a person who has lost someone to cancer, and let's say the person that they lost never was part of our program. They are grieving, and they need to go through grieving. And what we do that's very special with our bereft program is we offer individual counseling. So we do, for people who have lost someone, we do have a 6-week individual counseling program to talk with them before we move them into a group. And that program has now transformed to an individual counseling program for everybody. Because sometimes we're finding that there are times when people have heightened anxiety and special needs that need to be talked about individually and not in a group, to give it the full attention that they need. And so we offer individual counseling as well.
Okay. And so for people who are listening not all of my listeners have lost someone to cancer, right? My listeners have all causes of death, but I think many do have a cancer loss. So if in other words, it's not too late if they're saying, well, my loved one died of cancer a year ago or whatever, and I was never connected to Gilda's Club, they could get connected at this point now.
Yes, they could. You don't, it's not sort of a package deal where you have to have someone who was in our program, who was a patient, a diagnosed patient with cancer, and then you were in the program as a caregiver, and then you lost them, and you now can enter the bereavement program. You could enter the bereavement program even if your partner or loved one was not part of our program.
Gotcha. Okay, good to know. Thank you. So can you tell us then about some of these resources? So I guess starting with adults, what kinds of, I think you said you have workshops and groups. Can you tell us a little bit about the offerings you have?
Sure. So we have support groups for people who are diagnosed with cancer, caregivers, and also those who are bereft, who've lost someone to cancer. We also have what we call networking groups that meet, the support groups meet weekly, but we also have networking groups that meet once a month and deal with specific issues that are related. It could be young adult caregivers. It could be a specific type of cancer like prostate cancer, breast cancer. It could be post-treatment, people who've been post-treatment for a while now and don't need to attend a weekly support group, but they still want to connect with people once a month. Then we also offer individual counseling for adults, as I mentioned. That could be for those who are bereft or for those who are facing a cancer diagnosis. And then we have workshops. These workshops are, and they're a broad range. I guess what they have in common is to reduce your stress. So it could be movement, like yoga or soft aerobics. It could be more intellectual in the terms of journal writing and learning how to write your own journal. It could be creative in terms of knitting or artwork, painting, origami. So there are many different workshops that we offer, and they're offered weekly. And then, in addition to the weekly workshops, we offer about 4 lectures a month. Those lectures could deal with side effects, how to read a report, financial issues, resources for financing, clinical trials, how to find out about them. It could be related to nutrition, reducing the stress, eating healthy. There are so many lectures that are given by experts in the field, and the lectures are open to the public too. And especially now that we're doing them virtual, our attendance has skyrocketed. But these resources are all available to everyone. They're 100% free. And
Wait, there's no charge to participate in any of these programs?
No.
Terrific.
100% free.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Just have to be living with cancer, though.
Yeah.
That's the prerequisite.
Right. Okay. And I think you mentioned something about virtual, which was going to be my next question. Are you continuing all this programming now during lockdown and pandemic and quarantine, or how is that going?
Well, as you know, we're located in New York City, it's no longer, but was the epicenter of coronavirus for quite some time. And when we realized that coming to our clubhouse was dangerous for both our cancer patients in our community and our staff, we closed the clubhouse and we did a pivot, and we made our entire program virtual using Zoom, teleconferencing. Our program now mirrors what we did offer in the clubhouse. Eventually, I don't know when it's safe, we will be back at the clubhouse, but we will probably still offer virtual programs because we see that our participation increased by 80%.
Wow.
So we realize that there's so many people who, when you think about it, it makes sense. Cancer patients have weeks that they're not feeling well, or the weather, they don't want to go out if it's raining, and just having the ability to still go to their support group and see their support group members that have become sort of their life support for so long, makes it really important that they can do it virtually. So we are 100% virtual. We even sign up members virtually. It's hard to believe that we're going into our 6th month, and we've been doing this for so long. But it works. It really works.
Yeah. Oh, that's terrific. That's really good to hear. And you mentioned signing up people. So I guess that was going to be my next question. If somebody says, how do I get connected to Gilda's Club? Or how do I become a member? Like, how does that process work?
So they can go to our website, www.gildasclubnyc.org. And when they go to our website, they will see how to become a member. It will be there on the website homepage. And it's very simple. They'll fill out a short questionnaire, and then they will talk to somebody, a licensed mental health professional, who will talk to them and guide them, in terms of what they're looking for and what we have available in our program that would work for them, and signs them up.
Gotcha. Okay. That sounds pretty simple. And so you guys are in New York City, as you mentioned, but I think you're also affiliated with a larger network of organizations. So for listeners who are not in New York City, is there something similar they might be able to look for?
So we are a part of a very large network of community cancer support, and it's Cancer Support Community. And it is a combination of other Gilda's clubs across the country and other organizations called Cancer Support Community. We all provide similar support and similar program. our organization is the founding organization of Gilda's Club, and we have been around. This is our milestone year, 25 years we have been around providing support for the cancer community in New York City. So we're very proud of that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so, and does the cancer support community then probably, do they have like a website where people could maybe put in their location and see what comes up?
Yes, they do. If you go to the Cancer Support Community website, there is a place where you can put your zip code, your location, and you can find what the nearest support community is available to you.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. I will put a link in the show notes for sure to that and encourage people to go and check that out. And of course, a link in the show notes to your location in New York City as well for anybody who is listening from there. I noticed on your website that you have something called the Junior Associate Board, and I was curious what that is.
So the Junior Associate Board is our youngest group of volunteers. You have to be 13 years or older. It's really for teens. Many of the members in the Associate Board, I think almost all of them, have been a member at Gilda's Club at one point, and they have formed their community. We take children as young as 5 years old for support, and many of them have started as young children in our Noogie program and then graduated to our Teens Connect program. And while they're going through these programs as they grow older, they have met lifelong friends that they have kept in touch with. And they've also decided that they have gotten so much back from Gilda's Club that they want to give back. And so they are part of our Junior Associate Board. They do fundraising. They also volunteer. We have a Club Sparkle, which is a week-long summer program that we offer in a few weeks in the summer, and they volunteer for that and help out with the younger kids.
Oh, cool.
So they do volunteer and fundraising, both.
Yeah, terrific. Okay, well, that's because I know sometimes teens are looking for a way to give back, whether it's something, some teens have to do stuff for school, hours for school, but even just teens who want to give back because they've been touched by cancer somehow in their family. I think it's really good to know about that as a program you guys have. So thank you for sharing that. One more thing I wanted to ask about, just in terms of back to support for cancer patients and their families. I think you have something called Open to Options. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. So often when someone is newly diagnosed, they're overwhelmed. They have to make a lot of big decisions about their health care. And it's very hard to understand when you're going to have your first meeting or your second meeting with your medical health provider, what are the kinds of questions you need to ask? What do you make sure that you do ask? And have an opportunity to write it down and have a very productive session with your healthcare provider. So what we do is we offer one-on-one counseling with, again, a mental health professional who is trained to help you list all the questions you should be asking based on your diagnosis, and then providing you with this printout of all the questions before you go to your medical provider. And we send it to the medical provider so they actually have it just in case you forget to bring it. And you sit there with them and all your questions are asked, from treatment questions, side effects, clinical trial options, all the things that you were concerned about that relate to your specific diagnosis. And so you go into that meeting really prepared to find out what you need from your medical health provider. It's a very productive session.
That's terrific. I'm as I'm putting the finishing touches on my memoir here, it's forcing me to reflect back on the period when my husband was sick and remember all those appointments and all those visits and all those questions. And, it's a whole new language. It's a whole new set of specialties, for people who get a cancer diagnosis. It is overwhelming. So that sounds like a really neat service that you guys have, a really useful service.
Yeah, and we do it in Spanish and English.
Oh,
so
really?
Because as an organization, especially an organization based on community, the underserved communities are a very important part of the focus of what we do. So we want to make sure that they have access to the information they need when they get diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah, that's terrific. Gosh, I hope that people who are listening who have been touched by cancer in one way or another, whether they or someone in their family is currently involved in diagnosis and treatment, or whether they're listening because they had a loss in their family and that loss was due to cancer, I hope they will check out your organization if they're in New York City, or your affiliated organizations if they're elsewhere. This has just been so terrific to hear about what you guys do. So I guess just by way of wrapping up here, let me ask you one more question, if you don't mind. If you could say one thing to widowed parents, what would you say to them?
I think with widowed parents, I think it's very important to be able to talk to other people and to make sure that you don't isolate yourself. And even if you can find a support group with other people who have been recently widowed, I think the opportunity to be with other people who understand what you're going through, it's actually good for your kids too. You'd be surprised. Children are incredibly resilient. But when they're around other kids who've gone through, it's amazing, the transformation. It's the same thing with adults. You need to find people who are like you, and I think it really goes a long way in helping you recover and gaining back your life from all the things that you were doing, before you lost a loved one.
Terrific. Well, I think that's a great place to end. So my guest today is Lily Safani, who is the CEO of Gilda's Club, New York City. So Lily, can you share with us one more time, where can listeners find Gilda's Club, New York City, if they'd like to connect with you guys?
You should go to www.gildasclubnyc.org.
Okay, fantastic. Well, Lily, thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Well, thank you so much, Jenny, for giving me this opportunity.
Support for this podcast comes from BetterHelp. You can talk with a licensed professional therapist online, anytime, anywhere. Visit betterhelp.com/widowedparent to learn more and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/widowedparent. I hope you'll check it out. I hope you enjoyed my interview with Lily Safani as much as I did. You can find show notes and all the links at widowedparentpodcast.com. Look for episode 81. And a shout out today to what looks like a brand new listener of the show in Lithuania. I can't tell who you are, but it looks like someone is listening from there. So welcome. I'm very glad you're here. And please do write to me, jenny@jennylisk.com, and let me know if there's something that I can help you with. And one more thing, everyone, please do remember to rate and review the show in Apple Podcasts. Okay, as always, thank you for listening. Until next week, keep smiling.
Thank you for listening to the Widowed Parent Podcast with your host, Jenny Lisk. Connect with us on social media and at widowedparentpodcast.com.